Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the WRRAP podcast with me, Lee G. Joining me, as always, we have a full crew this week: Jamie, James, and Harley. Good evening, gentlemen. How are we all?
Good evening.
Fucking ecstatic.
I was right. I timed out 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Who else had? So, yeah, full crew. James is struggling with actually keeping the power on. Harley keeps freezing and disappearing every now and again, and every 5 minutes or so, me and Jamie just go, "Oh, fuck this," and walk off. So this could be an interesting one tonight, boys. This could be an interesting one. So let's start with drink of the week. Who's got an interesting drink of the week? Jamie, let's have you first. What have you got, mate?
I have got a very interesting drink of the week this week. So we know the Dragons are in South Africa, the Tour of Hell, as I'm now calling it. So I've got a South African beer tonight. And Lee, you're the oldest on this pod. Do you remember when Carlin was Carlin Black Label?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and you remember the jingle, didn't you? Carlin Black Label.
Yeah.
In South Africa, it's known as Carlin Black Label. So this is what I've got. I got the South African Carlin Black Label.
Right, proper old labels as well. Yeah.
It tastes absolutely nothing like the British Carlin because it tastes nice. And it's quite strong. I mean, it's 5.5%. I'm trying to find out where in South Africa it's brewed, but I can't seem to. Oh, Santon. Anyone know where Santon is in South Africa? No idea.
No idea.
But yeah, this is the South African Carlin, and very nice it is too. So,
But they started doing at one point. They did like so they had a black label, and then they did Carlin red label and Carlin white label, and everyone was just going, "It's just all shit." Well, I don't know why you tried to. It was then they went to Carlin. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
So James, what have you got, mate?
I have simply got a McDonald's coffee because I've been traveling all day today and needed to pick me up.
They sell beer in service stations.
I literally needed something very quickly. I am very tired. I should not have gone to the West Wales derby.
Well, you being there swelled the crowd, mate. So yeah. So
absolutely.
Harley, what have you got?
Well, you can't tell what it is just from the glass. I've brought the actual bottle it come from. So I've got myself something that I think is better than Kraken. It's Kraken rum. So it's a similar black rum, but it's called Beckford's Black Pill. Okay. And it's got a very nice bottle. It's a distiller in Bath. I met the guy who actually started up the thing, and he basically said, "I made this rum to kick Kraken's ass out of the water," and it does.
So it's
I will not tell you what the ratio, and because it's black, I could have just had it in the bottom of the glass, and you have no idea how much of this is rum.
I'm thinking all of that. I'm thinking the whole lot of that is rum. I'm thinking.
I think if we'd lost by a score again this week instead of once again beating South African team, you know, we seem to be the only regulars at it. It probably would have been all rum.
Moving swiftly on. So I went to a Christmas food festival thing, Christmas craft fair type thing. And normally there's last year there was like 5 different breweries there. This year 1, but then there was also lots of distilleries. So some of the distilleries, there's a local rum called Barty D. So Barty D rum, and they make a Barty D cream rum. Oh my lord, absolutely perfect. So there's a couple of bottles of that downstairs, and then so tonight's beer for me is from the Pembrokeshire Cider Company. So this one is the William Marshall cider, which is nice. It's a medium. I tried one of their dry ciders. Oh my god, you literally have a dry cider.
Face invert.
It's like and you're like trying to
cider.
Lick stuff. There's dry and then there's like arid, but it's good stuff. This is the medium cider, so it's quite nice. But then they do a distilled cider rum, yeah. And I had some of that. Fuck me, I nearly fell over. Yeah, so, you know, you get these tiny little pots like that. And you go, oh yeah, bam. Oh my god, it was awesome. And then 3 lots. So we had Bailey's hot chocolate, Barty D rum hot chocolate, and alcoholic orange something hot chocolate. I was slaughtered. Mrs. spent fucking hundreds. I didn't give a shit. I was absolutely slaughtered. So, so anyway, that's my drink of the week. So I can't be asked to do a news desk intro this week, Jamie. You've been saved this week, but I have got a good one there. I'm just going to save it, and then as we move into Christmas, I'm going to work out a Christmassy one as well. So
cannot wait. Brilliant. Okay, then let's get into the news, shall we? Quite a bit of news to get through. So on Friday night, there were reports emerging in the French media that a deal was done for Provence Rugby to sign George North from the Ospreys. The BBC have said that it's in advanced negotiations and no deal has officially been completed. Reports are suggesting the North will earn in the excess of 300 grand next season with a second division club. So yeah, I think it's highly likely he's going to leave. You know, no one can blame him. The reality is now, with the way with the payment system, you know, the WRU are not paying that 80% anymore, and the region's paying 20. They have to pay the full wages. And the fact of the matter is, yes, we want our best players in Wales, of course we do, but it's not cost effective anymore to pay full wages to players, international players who barely play for their pro teams. That's just the reality now, and that's what we got to accept. So, James, what's your thoughts on North moving
on? Yeah, full credit, you know, full power to him. Go and earn that cash, mate. I have no, you know, ill feeling towards George. Every time he's, you know, his performances may not have been always amazing in Ospreys jersey in the limited times that he has played, but you know, he's put on the jersey. You know, he gets on with everyone at the club by all accounts. He's not, you know, driven by ego. Yeah, no, go and get that bag, as they say. The youth say. It's a bit of bad timing this week. Obviously, he wasn't included in the squad for the West Wales derby, which led many people to think he was going mid-season. But Toby Booth confirmed that he had a knee infection, which meant that he actually couldn't play. He was physically unwell, but he was at the game on Sunday. So, but yeah, all power to him. Going in that cash. I hope he tears it up out there.
Yeah.
Do you reckon he'll be on the wing or at centre over there?
With 300 grand, I play him a prop, mate.
I go anywhere to make me 300 grand. Yeah.
I was going to say, going to play him. They saw how well he did in that England game at 6, and has decided that, you know, they're going to Lavani Botti him.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised because he's 6'3" and he's not a small chap.
Oh, he's a bit taller than that, I think. He might be 6'4", 6'5". Yeah, I'll double check. I'll double check me spreadsheets.
Yeah, I put him in a blind side. He's probably better there. His defensive frailties are less exposed. Next.
Got some Scarlets news for you now, then, Lee.
Yeah.
So Scarlets are going to play. Well, yeah, we'll come on to that later. Scarlets will play Exeter Chiefs in an Anglo-Welsh derby at Sandy Park in February. That match is going to take place on the same day that Wales face England in the 2024 Six Nations, which is Saturday, February the 10th. Some signing news. Scarlets have signed tight head prop Joe Jones from Sale Sharks. Jones made 11 appearances for Sale last season. His previous clubs have included Cardiff, RGC, Perpignan, Doncaster Knights and Coventry. And Wales Online are reporting that the Scarlets are closing in on the signing of highly rated South African hooker, I don't know if I got his name right or not, Edwan Swart from Currie Cup team, the Pumas. So what do you make of that, Andy? The transfer and the rumour?
Well, first of all, the Exeter game, everyone's a bit pissed off about it, to be honest. Not everyone. So quite a lot of hardcore Llanelli supporters, and we need to separate the two between Llanelli and Scarlet supporters, because that game, you know, the whole point of Llanelli pulling out of the Premiership was that they were going to be the Scarlets development team and they would be playing games when Scarlets didn't have a thing and all that kind of stuff. So that was a load of shit to start with, and that's pissed a load of people off that you know, the idea that Llanelli would be still existing and this, that, and the other. So that's pissed off quite a few people, and I don't blame them. That there are issues between the club and supporters at the minute that aren't being resolved, and the club just keep shitting on people, and it's not going down very well. So yeah, that aside, Joe Jones, no idea who he is or how he plays or what he's like. And Ed from the Pumas, he was meant to be here a couple of weeks ago, we were told, but it's been waiting on permits and this, that, and the other. And we think, we believe that the reason that he is coming is as a long-term possible replacement for Ken Owens, which is why it's been a bit sensitive. Obviously, Ken is still injured. They're still hoping that he'll be back. But it's looking less and less likely, in all honesty. And he's got quite a serious back problem. But, you know, if you've got a serious back problem and you're a hooker and you're mid to late 30s, the last thing you want to be doing is going into a scrum with 200 kilos going one way and 200 kilos going the other way, and you're in the middle trying to hook a little white ball back. So, yeah, don't know what he's like. So we'll see what he's like when he comes. Oh, and Plumtree out as well, which
Yes, I was just about to come on to that. So Tame Plumtree is set to miss at least the start of the Six Nations after Scarlets coach Dwayne Peel revealed he is likely to need surgery. Peel was quoted as saying he is not going to be fit for a while and likely to need surgery on his shoulder. So bad news for Scarlets and bad news for Wales there.
Yeah.
And then, sorry, do you want to?
No, just like, yeah, fuck it. like it could get worse, James.
I know. When it rains, it pours in it. So just one last bit of news then, involving the Dragons. So head of performance and conditioning coach Dan Barr, he's been given an official 1-game ban by the URC last week for his spat with referee Ben Whitehouse and that win over the Ospreys. So the URC have given him a 4-game ban, but 3 games of those have been suspended over the course of the season, and he's got a £2,500 suspended fine. The Dragons have also been given a suspended £5,000 fine. So if he steps out of line again, yeah, he's going to cop another 3-game ban and a hefty fine. So I have no problem with that, by the way. I think, you know, the URC have dealt with it well. Di Flanagan did say they were going to deal with it in-house, but it was always likely that the URC were going to give them an official ban. So lessons learned. Let's hope it never happens again. But yeah, that's the end of that. That's the end of the news.
Right, okie dokie. Well, let's crack on with rugby stuff then. And in chronological order, Harley. Let's start with. I think if Harley smiles anymore, that his ears are literally going to be connected by his teeth. So go on, talk us through Friday night, Harley.
Well, it was a much needed bonus point win for Cardiff. Yeah, it was quite good. It was nice to see the attacks after a really wobbly first 20 minutes, which saw Stormers go 40-0 up. We seemed to sort of kick our asses together into gear. We actually saw leadership on the pitch. So Scrum 5 mic'd up Ellis Jenkins, and you could hear him basically going through and saying, like, you know, this is the play now. This is where you're going to go stand. You're going to go this, but you're the dummy. Okay, but sell it like you're going to get the ball. Got it. We got to see Big Mac and Fries. Big Mac and Fries off the base to win it at the end. It was just a great game. I think I was talking to a couple of other people. I managed to find, just before I left, the few people who actually watched the URC in the whole of the University of Exeter, and they thought it was a great game. Then cried because they're both Dragons fans. That wasn't meant for comic effect. That was just actually how the conversation went this morning. Yeah, I thought it was a great game. I loved it. It was Cam win it again, showing he's just immense. Mason Grady has a massive chip on his shoulder for some reason, and I'm loving it because he's just running through South Africans like they're paper men.
And are you just going to leave it there? You're just going to drop the mic and walk out and go, yeah, fuck you lot. We've just done these bastards, and off you go. Yeah, cool. Fair enough.
It was short and sweet, wasn't it? I was expecting a thorough analysis of that win.
Just wait for Cardiff Central later on.
I was expecting at least 10 minutes of Harley going on then. There were visions of last year in Sharks.
I'm going to stretch it out through the season because I'm just going to go, do you remember when we beat Stormers 2 years in a row?
Do you remember our last win, guys?
Yeah. Damn right. I'm going for that.
To be fair,
Jamie's going to live on that Ospreys victory for years to come.
And probably. Quite rightly too. Yeah, the Ospreys were shit in that game, weren't they, Jim? I thought they were fucking awful.
Yeah, imagine how awful you'd have to be to lose to a team that awful, Haley.
I know, fucking ridiculous. you can tell by my language tonight. So I was going to say that I thought that the Cardiff defence on Friday was probably the best it's been for the last couple of seasons, to be honest. Apart from the first 20 minutes, I don't know why, but those first 20 minutes just couldn't defend Toffee, and they just walked through you. And I thought you boys were in for a really, really long night. I thought this is it. This is another 50 or 60 points. All of this bollocks about losing in the last couple of minutes is out the window because they're just going to march all over you. And then for some reason they went, when they've got the ball, we can tackle them around the legs and put them on the floor. Should we ever go at that point? Should we try and have a go? And it worked. So yeah, I was impressed.
I think it'll be a bit of a theme. I think it might be a bit of a theme for as my screen shown at the top half of this chat, because Friday night when I was supposed to be watching my team, it was actually my father-in-law's birthday, so I was over there having a curry. So I missed the game and then basically had to watch it all back afterwards.
Well,
seeing everyone's messages, I was panicking. I was like, "Oh fuck! Oh shit, we won!"
I was in the arena in Cardiff for Chris and Rosie Ramsey. My missus had booked ages ago.
That sounds fun. My wife loves that.
The ultras were, there was just clashes at the end. It was like scenes in Football Factory, Chris and Rosie ultras versus, the Cardiff faithful. No, but it was. I caught the last 5 minutes in the interval. I say last 5 minutes, the last 8 minutes, because there was 3 minutes of overtime. And I just put in the chat, "You jammy fuckers," because I called it. Literally, I think I got a perfect prediction as well, didn't I?
You did, you fucker.
Yeah.
We best calm it down though. Hugh made a note of how much we swore last week. So
bollocks to him
last week.
I
thought you were going to go with Hugh Gribbs a crap.
Will Davis King started a game and didn't shit the bed.
I mean, I think we should caveat it. He was up against Brock. The adopted son of Gwent, Brock Harris, playing his 400th game of. Is it pro? They say 400th pro rugby, or for like the Celtic, just the Celtic League type thing. Either way,
first class games,
yeah.
But still, though,
let's be fair. If you're gonna learn lessons, you're gonna learn lessons there.
Yeah, that'll be better for him, and also just managing Reece Litterick's, minutes.
Yeah.
And he came
for
on,
me,
obviously,
it's possibly our signing of the seasons already.
Hamer Webb went well, I thought as well. He took his try really well.
Yeah, absolutely. But for me, Reece Litterick, with all the, I'm going to talk to a bit. Spoiler for the Cardiff Central Club, but we're going to talk a bit more in depth of that. But seriously, we got the better end of the deal when we swapped him for Dylan Lewis.
How was he doing in the Premiership, Dylan Lewis?
He comes off the bench. I'll say that he started last week, and when they started the other day when Quins got back. But mostly he's coming off the bench after Simon Kerrod.
And then lost against Northampton away.
Yeah.
So that's how that's going.
Yeah. Finn is greater than Marcus in the Battle of the Smiths. Actually, no, it wasn't Finn Smith, was it? It was George Furbank. So Marcus Smith got beaten by a fullback who's pretended to be 10.
Anyway.
Can I give two shout-outs before we move on? Because I want to say how brilliant Mason Grady was and how good he's becoming. And I know there's a bit of a debate about You know, do they play him in the centre? Do they play him on the wing? I really like the look of him on the wing because he's got power, he's got pace. I thought he was excellent, and you know they struggle to contain him, the Stormers. Cam Winnett is another player that just continues to impress. For someone so young, he just looks really composed, and he never gets flustered. And then he's got future Welsh international written all over him. I thought he's really, really good. But I mean,
again,
the
I think you're
Stormers.
spoiling half of our chat for the pod because they're two who are going to be coming up a lot. But
yeah, I mean, Mason Grady
for me, I
beat
still
11
want to keep as
defenders.
13. Yeah,
Yeah.
I still want to
He
keep him
beat 11
developing in the
defenders.
centre. But I'd say if he's playing for Wales, probably wing. But I'd like to see him play more centre for Cardiff.
Yeah, I do like him
Yeah,
on
that's
the
what
wing, though. But
so he can learn it. He
yeah,
reminds me of a
the
very young George North.
Yeah, he's got that look about the power and the pace. But the Stormers, though, I don't know if you saw John Dobson after the game. He was absolutely furious. He said it was our worst performance on tour, how he chucked it away. And let's be honest, yes, to both of those, as good as that Cardiff win was, the Stormers, you know, when they were 14-0 up, I was watching this thinking, oh, it's going to be a long night for Cardiff. But I just couldn't believe how error-prone and clumsy they were. And the decision-making was bad, you know. Kicking to the corner, missing, you know, when the 3 points run off of there. And Warwick Gallant as well. I can understand why South African supporters, why they just so divided on it, because he comes off the bench and he puts in a brilliant dummy and offload. I think it was Ruan Nel, wasn't it? He puts him over to score. And you're like, oh, fair play. But he couldn't catch a cold afterwards. Every time he had the ball, he just kept knocking on. He's got pace, but he's got no end product whatsoever. And it was just really frustrating to watch. But the Stormers deserve to lose that because of their clumsiness. I thought they got complacent. You know, they should have gone on to win that game. And to let it slip in the way they did, I can understand why John Dobson was furious afterwards. But it was funny to see the reaction on social media. So you had Cardiff fans like they'd won the URC. And then you had bloody Stormers fans afterwards boiling their absolute piss that they threw it away. They called it for John Dobson to be sacked and we're a joke team and all this. There was no nuance at all whatsoever. That's what I love about social media.
It would have been the second South African head coach to quit though, or be fired after Cardiff beat them.
Yeah, of course he shouldn't be sacked.
That's all the same shit everyone was having a go at 2019 Wales for, saying, "Oh no, Wales are lucky to win. We were just the other team were just shit." Maybe we made them shit. And with the missed penalty kick, can we at least point out how brilliant it was for Ellis Bevan to catch that ball and keep it in play? Like, you know, that would have been a very good kick to touch if he doesn't make that. And you know, that basically, you know, that ends up.
Though, I thought, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah, no, I was thinking.
It was a good win. Also, it's a quick win.
Yeah.
Okay, so talking of South African opponents, Jamie. Let's talk very quickly about the start of the Dragons tour of South Africa.
But come on, Lee, don't laugh. I wasn't laughing when the Scarlets got hugged in South Africa, was I?
No,
maybe a bit, but that's not the point.
Yeah, I was just thinking about how to phrase it without taking the piss, and I couldn't. So, yeah, I mean, I watched that game about halfway through. I thought the Dragons are doing okay, and then it just seemed to, I don't know, the floodgates open. What did you make of it?
Well, I mean, where do you start? You know, with a game like that, where do you start? Well, let's go back to the beginning then. So during the week, there was a lot of conversation about, you know, how Sharks had lost their games and the pressure was under, you know, John Plumtree, and Dragons boosted by a win and they were going to go there with some confidence. But I actually thought that was a little bit naive to think that, because what people didn't take into account was the fact that Dragons had 15 players unavailable and the fact that the Sharks were going to bring back their Springboks. So we were always up against it going into this game. And don't forget, we've got a lot of big names missing. You know, we haven't got Leon Brown, Carter, Elliot D, Jack Dixon, Lydia, Martinez, O'Brien, Bertrand, etc. We've got a very lengthy injury list. So we was always up against it. And then the teams come out on Friday and you look at the Sharks side. You know, Etzebeth, Lucano Am, Makosi Mapimpi, Jaden Hendrickson. You got the likes of Ox Nation, Grant Williams on the bench. So straight away you knew this was going to be a very different Sharks team to the one that we've already seen in the URC. And the first half, but I actually thought Dragons did okay in the first half. We were still in the game. Yes, we was completely under the cosh. The scrums, my goodness. I tell you what, I've watched a lot of rugby, right? And I've seen scrums get dominated. I have never seen a scrum get absolutely destroyed like that, like the Dragons did on Saturday. It was horrible to watch. And, you know, I'm not a fan of Chris Coleman at the best of times, but my goodness, he got turned inside out. He was out of his depth horribly. I'm not surprised he saw a yellow card. It was just an absolute disaster. It was literally watching a scrum on roller skates, and we had no platform whatsoever. And then in the first half, we lose Ollie Griffiths, we lose Will Reid, and we lose Kai Evans. So we haven't got any fly halves. We haven't got a full back. It was just a perfect storm. But to go in at 27, I actually thought we did okay. The second half, though, I mean, it was horrible. There was one-way traffic. I mean, once Ibanez scored that bonus point try, the floodgates opened, and it was really, really difficult. And I don't really know what to say about that. I just thought the Dragons were out of their depth. They were overpowered. You know, you saw Dave Flanagan after the game. I saw his interview, and he just looked like, you know, clueless and crestfallen. He didn't know what to say afterwards. He's like, well, I don't know how we contain the power. It was a really, really tough day. I mean, do I think it should be 69 points? No, because although I thought we worked hard, we were the architect of our own downfall at times. We did shoot ourselves in the foot. You know, you got things like players turning it back in the build-up to Ibernet's best try. You got Naira Owen kicking the ball dead in a promising position. You got Rio Dyer just lobbing a wild pass infield, which leads to one of their tries. I mean, he wouldn't do that for Wales, so why would he do it for the Dragons? You know, if Warren Gatland saw him do that, he'd get dropped, because that's unacceptable, just lobbing a pass like that. You know, Theo Tompkinson throwing a really lazy intercept pass. It's tough in South Africa, but when you're up against it, against a powerful Sharks team, loaded with Springbok, World Cup winning Springbok players, the Dragons never stood a chance, and it was a very, very painful viewing. It was tough. It was tough to watch, and we got no fly off now going into the Lions game. Don't know what we're going to do there. I suspect Steph Hughes will play. I know there's some rumours about Matt O'Brien, our backs coach, possibly getting the gig at 10. I don't see that happening. I don't think that'll happen. I think it'd be Steph Hughes or Naira Owen or Jordan Williams.
Jordan Williams at
What were you
10.
going to say?
I'd rather have Matt O'Brien. I'd honestly rather bite the bullet and go with Matt O'Brien than Jordan Williams at 10.
I'll be honest, I'd rather them go to a local park during the week and just pick anyone and say, you play 10 than Jordan Williams at 10.
Is Mike Phillips
very
available?
creative fullback.
Make himself available for South Africa tours, isn't he?
See, I've seen.
Yeah, he was it during the Pro 14 back when he was 14, he came in to play for the against the Cheetahs and Southern Kings, but he only got the one game, I think.
Yeah.
If I remember rightly.
When Jordan Williams played 10 for us a couple of times, and every now and again he does pull out just something fantastic. He's one of those players that's really frustrating, because when he's good, he's just fucking amazing and nobody can touch him. And when he's shit, it's a Saturday. So, you know, he's really frustrating that you can see that he could be a really top class player. He just, I don't know, he just tries too many things. I think he tries too hard. And when he's at 10, he's got the ball so much. Like when he's at fullback, he maybe has the ball 5 or 6 times in the game. So he maybe fucks up 50% of it. But then he might score 3 tries and he might give 3 tries away. When he's outside half, he's getting the ball 25, 30, 40 times a game. And if he's fucking up 20 opportunities, then that's where it looks worse. But he is an outstanding player when he's good.
I think he'll play a fullback, if I'm honest, because we haven't got a recognised fullback. So I think it's likely that you'll see Steph at 10 with Jordan at fullback. I would actually go for Naira Owen, because he's a talented footballer and he has played fly half in age grade rugby. I would just give him a crack and say it's a free hit, see what it's like. But I expect them to go with Steph Hughes. But you look at the stats as well. I mean, yes, we know how difficult it was for the Dragons, how they were overpowered, overwhelmed. But things like, 17 turnovers conceded, 26 missed tackles. You can't do that against a side like the Sharks. Yes, I know that people keep saying, they lost every game this season, but this is a different team when they've got their World Cup winners in it. And when you go away to South Africa, it's tough. It's really tough. Your discipline's got to be spot on. You have got to front up. You saw it with the Scarlets. They conceded 115 points on their tour to South Africa. You know, and look what happened to Connacht. They've had 50 plus points put on them. Zebra, I know people say it's only Zebra, but they are improving. They've had 60 plus points put on them. It's a very, very tough place to go. And if you can't front up, you're going to get battered. And I got no idea, by the way, how Di Flanagan now picks the players up off the floor and go ready, to go again against the Lions. Because the Lions looked really good on the weekend. And there's some battered and bruised bodies. We got injuries as long as your arm. It could be very ugly again this weekend. This turned into the tour of hell. But this was always on the cards. Once a squad like ours, a threadbare squad, once we start picking up our injuries and we're losing all our best players, you just leave yourself exposed. We haven't got the depth, we haven't got the quality, and it showed in that game against the Sharks. So, it was very, very painful. But unfortunately, I've got a nasty feeling it's going to get painful again this weekend. But,
Well, Harley, you were going
Moving on.
Say.
I was going to say, going on the stats of missed tackles, Sharks actually had a worse tackle percentage. But I mean, it means I think the killer one for Dragons is it was 4 penalties to 14. That's too big. And if both of you are conceding about 14 or 4, it evens it up a bit. I mean, again, I think the problem is in the first half, Dragons were able to sort of get away with the line out and the scrum being a bit crap. The second half, the Sharks made the most of it. And then when they're starting to bring on even more world-class players, because some of these players, like Lucanio Am and Oxen J, are world-class. You got to say, and then Dragons are already picking from a depleted squad. The injuries Dragons already had, I don't think affect as much as the injuries they had in the game. Because if you're a couple of players down, yes, it's bad, but you're training without them. You're not training to lose Kai Evans and Will Reed in the first half. You're not training to lose Ollie Griffiths in the first half. Even if you're
massive setback.
planning. So that is a huge on-field setback, and it's going to cause problems. To answer how he picks him up, I think you just turn around and say, do you know what? We'll call this a barbells week and just have some piss-ups. Have some piss-ups, have some fun. Say it doesn't matter, and say we weren't good. Like, this is a hard game to win. Let's just enjoy being in South Africa. Let's enjoy being on tour. We'll play the Lions. We'll do our best. Completely scratch it from memory. Start again, and start focusing on Bayonne. Yeah, is it? No. You've got first for Europe. Yeah, not Bayonne. Yeah, so I think you just start thinking about that and just say, let's just not worry about it. Let's just figure it out, because it's going to be hard. You're going to be at altitude as well in Joburg.
But the players look shattered after that game.
Yeah.
They were blowing out to their ass. The fitness levels, they just could not compete with the Sharks.
The problem is, I don't know who you bring in to help them recover, because it's not like you've got enough players in that touring squad to bring in and just say, like, you guys, don't worry, you rest and go, because you're going to have people who are going to have to do double shifts. I imagine Rodri Jones is going to have to Rodri Jones is going to have to, and Rodri Williams. Rodri Williams, I think, whoever you're playing at 10, you're going to need Rodri Williams there pretty much to do most of the 10's job as well, in terms of the game management.
I forgot to say that Lloyd Fairbrother pulled out as well just before kickoff. So we ended up starting Coleman, and then we had Luke Yendall, who I actually thought the scrum,
I thought he was all right.
Slightly improved, ever so slightly, when he came on.
I mean, and then he's coming up against Oxen Che, who... let's be fair, he was looking at both of those Dragons props like they were pieces of cake.
Can I just say something? It's not, we're scrummaging, and I had this discussion on the weekend, because I'll come on to it later. If you look at the stats, the Ospreys, they're a 63% scrum win compared to Scarlets 71%. Now, on the face of it, I just looked at Ospreys low scrums. But you've got two types of penalties. You've got technical penalties, where it's you've slipped, you've lost your footing, you've dropped your bind, whatever. And then there are penalties that are caused by you going backwards at a rate of knots, which then cause you to fuck your scrummaging. That's literally what you can't account for the power coming out of that Sharks pack. You've got Etzebeth, who is massive, and Che is massive.
The best tight headlock in the world.
Technically, there's probably nothing wrong with what Chris Coleman's done or what Luke Yendall has done, or I mean, probably Aki Suli. He can't scrummage for shit, but
No. But Coleman can't either. I'm not a fan of Chris Coleman.
They've just gone back at a greater rate. And yeah, it's just power. And that comes on to the penalties as well. You've got there's 4 penalties to 14. And Dave Flanagan said it in his post-game interview. He said, you're 1 or 2 phases, you're on the back foot because you're being, your meters after contact are 5+ every time. You're more likely to be offside. You're going to infringe at the breakdown. It's like watching a grassroots game where in the cup, right? You've got a team who's probably in like Division 4 East, who's unluckily been drawn against Division 2 top of the table. That's what it looked like, where it was just players who were physically not up to the job. They were just being bullied, and that's where half the problems come from.
Yeah, there's a clear gulf in class, and we saw that. But we played Sharks at the wrong time. It had to be us, didn't it, that they brought all the Springboks players back. I wish we'd played them now, earlier in the season, because, we would have gone, we probably would have lost, right? Make no bones about that. We would have lost against the Sharks, but it wouldn't have been that demolition job. And I don't think we would have been so overpowered as we were against the Sharks. But, Dave Flanagan, he's on camera saying, how do we contain the power? I got no idea. And I don't think he knows either. It's going to be very, very difficult now for them to pick themselves up off the floor. They got to lick their wounds and go against the lines. But the one thing I will say before we move on, Roger Williams' conversion, superb. After Rio Dyer's try, which was that was an excellent try, by the way, for Rio to pluck it out there one arm. Roger Williams' conversion, if you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. It was brilliant. So if Steph does start at 10, start Rodri and he can take the conversions. The penalties.
This is why I was saying that I think no matter who you play at 10, you've got to start Roger Williams. And if you can, get him playing 80. Because he can kick, he is a decent enough goal kicker. And I think his game management and his kicking game, he can make up for an inexperienced 10, and he has done it in the past.
Yeah.
So I think
Blacker was okay,
that's where they have to go more as a damaged limitation than anything. As much as I love Black, I think Black is brilliant.
Yeah. Blacker was okay. He was getting a lot of stick from Dragons. And I actually thought Dane Black was okay. He took his try well. But what I will say, for what I've seen of him so far at the Dragons, I think he's better as an impact player coming off the bench.
Yes, I agree. That's what I was about to say.
That's why I think his strength is. I think if we need a bit of sip, if things are starting to slow down or need a bit of energy, you bring Dane Black on for the last 10, 15 minutes. But I think as a starter, he's less effective than he is coming off the bench. So Rodri, he's definitely got to start.
His game management is probably his worst aspect, and you can see that. You can see the purple patches are brilliant, but you can't do that if you can't do that for 70-minute cycle. You are going to struggle. So I think you're absolutely right. I think Blacker works best as an impact player, and I think he's one for the Dragons who's got better as the season's gone on. He's put in, but he's not putting in 80-minute performances like you saw against Munster. It was very much little bits. I know he came off the bench, forced to come off the bench there, but it was little bits there. In this match, purple patches again. So I think as the season goes on, I think he'll get more out of Blacker.
I think that's kind of why he lost out to Ellis Bevan and Jamie Hill at Cardiff, is because they showed a lot more of the game management side of things earlier, and they had to make decisions on who they were bringing through, and they decided to stick with Hill and Bevan, who were almost like a younger version of Thomas and Lloyd. And sort of as great as Blacker was, if he did get his chance for Cardiff, he sort of it was a case of, well, we've got to get rid of one of them. These two look like they can do all the other jobs sooner. So unfortunately, he's had to go via Scarlets to he's eventually done the Cardiff thing of sending our scrum master we don't really need over to the Dragons.
Took a detour. Anyway,
I can just see the flashbacks of Jamie thinking of Lewis Jones there.
You had to rub it in, didn't you? I'm already feeling now about myself. Lewis Jones.
Like I wasn't having a shit enough night as it was.
I know, rubbing it in right on now.
I'm just here to spread chaos.
Right, let's get this bit over and done with. Then James, go on.
You can go first, mate.
I was out. I still haven't seen the game.
Convenient.
I know.
So were the Scarlets, mate. Don't worry.
I caught little bits of it on the radio when I was driving through a little bit of the country with no signal, and then by the time I got back, I just it was like 11 o'clock. I went, bollocks to this. I'm go to bed. I thought that's okay. I'll watch it tomorrow. And then today's been crazy nuts. So I haven't actually seen it. And I've got to do a whole pod on it after this. just that one game. So yeah, I'm looking for your inspiration.
All right. From the gloating aside, Scarlets were poor. They offered absolutely nothing through that whole game. Their purple patches, I don't even think you call them purple patches because they were just pathetic.
Mulky mauve.
Yeah, they were just, there was no, poor Fafita. And he's just, he tries his
His
best. And
pullback.
And, a lot's been said about Leatherbarrow and his defence, right? That's only because the fucker's been forced to put in 20 tackles per week. That's that, he's great, and I think he's going to be a fantastic, John Barkley-esque player for you. But that's only because he's been forced to make 20 plus tackles a week. There was no leadership around the field. Cowdor was awful, and I've had my problems with Gareth Davis in the past, but he's been on form. Right, he was red hot for Wales, and he's come back, and I thought, he's not been too bad. He was really bad. Poor Johan Lloyd. He was having to do so much mopping up the basics, like putting the pass. We've all played and coached spirits of rugby, right? You put the pass into the target on your hands. It was going fucking everywhere. Too low. It was too high. It was behind him, and you just thought Johan Lloyd's like, I left Bristol for this shit. Like, I left having competent scrum halves because Kieran Hardy came on and he was worse, if anything. Go on, Harley.
Have you seen Bristol play?
Andy Urin was the most competent man ever, I'll have you know. Anyway, Kieran Hardy comes on. He puts a missed pass into touch when there was no need to put the missed pass on. He takes a stupid quick tap penalty that leads nowhere for the Scarlets. And I know the lineup wasn't going great and you were being driven back or whatever. But, back whoever's on there, back the front ball or whatever. The scrum, that's an argument for the worst Scarlets pack to visit Swansea in years. Wyn Jones is a shadow, or was a shadow on Sunday of what he used to be. He spent more time complaining and squaring up to the Ospreys front row than he did actually scrummaging.
He's declined, haven't he? Big time, Wyn Jones. I thought
big
that as well.
time. Ryan Elias, I don't know what was up with him. His darts are off. I don't know whether it was the call as well. He wasn't carrying as well as he wanted to. He probably wanted to. I'm trying to think who else. And then the one that was probably disappointing for most Wales Online journalists was Tuapolotu. He was so bad. And there's no
skirting especially after last week when you could see what he
there's no skirting around it. He was awful. He was flapping his arms and huffing and making sad faces to the ref when he should have been putting in tackles, when he should have been making big carries. He doesn't offer himself as much as a carrier as he should. Right? The second Kieran Williams try, right? Kieran Williams should not be scoring that. Because he runs an inside angle into what should be your 7, your 8, and realistically your 10. Okay? And they just, flap their arms and he goes through and scores that try. He was really bad. And in the context of the game that he was and who he was up against, it makes it look all the more bad when they have spent the week hyping up Tuapolotu in the media. And hype, it's been 5 years now. When does it stop? When does it stop? And Scarlets fans are starting to see it as well. I've been on Scarlet Fever all day having a fucking laugh. Right?
My figures are
it's been absolutely brilliant. But even Scarlet in the forums are saying, where does the buck stop with Tuapolotu? Because
he's overhyped. Big time. I've said that on this pod. He's overhyped.
I love the fact that I asked the Ospreys man. I just said to you, right, that I didn't see the game, and I said, "Hey, Ospreys person, Tell me about how the Ospreys played on the. Have you just spent 5 minutes?
There's
slagging off
nothing
the
to say.
Scarlets?
There's nothing to say about the Ospreys.
You've gone.
Says it all,
Scarlets
really,
were
doesn't it?
shit. We were shit,
But there's
you were
nothing to
shitter.
say.
I can come in. I can come in if you want some points from the Ospreys. For the
I will give
Ospreys.
a point for the Ospreys, don't worry. But there's nothing to say about the Ospreys to say they did anything spectacular in that game. All they did was just say, right, you're going to run at us. We're going to put in dominant tackles on you. We're going to flood the breakdown, give you slow ball and force you to kick. And the kicks that you were doing weren't effective. Ospreys kicked more than the Scarlets, but their kicks were effective. The one time Joe Roberts put in I think it was Joe Roberts put in a beautiful 50-22, right? Nothing came of it. Yeah, there was no momentum there. So the Ospreys didn't have to get out of second gear, essentially.
So what I've been picking up off social media and comments and this, that, and the other is, one, there was no fire in the belly, and we've said this a couple of times. You want us to support you, you've got to give us something to support. We will forgive not winning if you look like you're putting the effort in. When we went to South Africa, it didn't look like the boys were putting the effort in, and then we came back and actually there was a bit of effort. And from what I've seen so far, is it didn't feel like the effort was there. Didn't feel like the boys wanted to play. And the second bit that is coming through quite strong, there are people going, it's time for Dwayne Peel to go and all that kind of stuff. I don't buy into that necessarily.
No, neither do I. 10-year extension, please.
No, he's still learning as a coach, and everybody's going to learn all that kind of stuff, but he's got to learn faster. And I think part of it was going to be my actual point around Dwayne Peel is it's not around Dwayne Peel, it's around the academy setup and the development setup. And you look at Cardiff, you look at Dragons, you look at Swansea, you all got quite a high density of players within a short space, so actually having one academy in one place works for you guys. It doesn't work for us in the West, and we've been bleating on about this for years and years and years. I remember when I was doing my bloody coaching training, level 1 training, and there was some guy there from the Scarlets, and I had to go with him. This was, God, my boy would have been 7, 6.
That's why you nearly
6.
banned.
Oh, the amount of times I've nearly been banned from speaking. I've been banned from my own club twice for speaking my mind. I got banned from an AGM. I went outside, I stood on the pitch, and I shouted through the window to tell the chairman he was a prick. So they asked me to leave the premises completely. So yeah, the Scarlets Academy setup just isn't what it needs to be. It's got this big thing in its head that we're the Scarlets and we produce, and you can see this. Yeah, we do produce good players. We do produce good players because every week we do.
Once you sent them to Jersey.
Yeah, well, yeah, but when we did that thing, James. Yeah, we started off as a bit of a laugh. Yeah, how many players have Scarlets sent to Ospreys? Massive amounts. Yeah, how many Ospreys sent west? Very, very few. So I've started doing it already for this week, Carly, for Cardiff, and you're like, actually, shitloads have gone to Cardiff. How many have come back? Not many. And then you look at it with yourself as well, Jamie. How many have gone to Dragons? Fuck, we could fill a squad, let alone a 15. The players have gone to the Dragons. So we produce
because everyone wants to move to the capital league. They don't want to go out to the arse end of nowhere.
No, it's. I think there's something more structurally in that club where the way we don't. Tuipulotu was bought in on the academy. You look at our players that we say are coming through the academy. They're not. Yeah. They're bought into the academy. Yeah. Well, and I'll put my hands up in full disclosure that my boy was in Scarlets Academy. My boys had a fucking horrible time in Scarlets Academy, and he was Scarlets through and through. He was absolutely down the line. I'm going to be a Scarlet dad. That's all. And he doesn't play rugby anymore. That's how bad his time at the Scarlets was. So, at some point, the club has got to turn around and go, why are we not producing these players? Why are we golden balls in certain players? Like Tuipulotu, and there are 2 or 3 in the academy still there now that are golden balls that, in all honesty, got pissed on by some of the other players in the academy, and those players have been released, and golden balls are still there, and you're going, they're the players that are going to make it to the Scarlet squad. And so, yeah, you know, it's
because they're the massive ones. I mean, I think we had a similar thing with like people like signing Joe Pearce and Joe Maximi, where you get players who just because of their size get brought in over other players and then end up going nowhere.
It's not even
This
that.
is where I think
I could cope with them if they were big fuckers. They're not. They're small, useless fuckers. If they were a big, useless fucker, they'd have something to do. These are small, useless fuckers. You
cannot call Carwyn Tuipulotu a small, useless fucker.
I'm talking about some of the others.
This is where I think. Go on, Harley.
I was just going to say, because one thing I think Scarlets have basically is the way they sort of normally distributed the regions, especially when you had Llanelli and Cardiff buying out and to become sort of their own standout regions. And I'm not going into that as 20 years ago.
Yeah, let's not start that.
Literally, there are people playing who were not born during the conception of the regions. Let's move on. But because of that, Llanelli, Scarlets have nominally they are the North Wales region as well. So they've got the whole of the North Wales. So it makes sense. You can't have one base because in theory you're developing. And there was an issue when we had the Scarlets women's team when some of the players up in North Wales were having to travel 4 hours there and 4 hours back. So you'd have to take a day off work for an hour's training, and that doesn't work. You need to. I know RGC is sort of taking over that unofficially, but players do. I mean, I know Sam Wainwright came back to the Scarlets a long way around from RGC, but you do. Yeah, I agree with you saying in Scarlets it can't, one base doesn't quite work because.
No. But my point was going to be
the biggest distance.
Yeah, my point is going to be you've got someone. The Ospreys Academy at the minute is actually performing really, really well.
This is what my point is now.
Yeah, and that's where we should have been 5 years ago, and the club refused to listen to it. The club refused. No, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. So yeah, we're going to play a couple of seasons of catch up. We're really going to play a couple of seasons of catch up. Sorry, Jamie. Hang on, Jamie.
Go on, Jamie.
Well, I was just going to say there was a really angry reaction on the weekend from Scarlets fans on social media. A lot of blame is going towards John Daniels and the hierarchy of the Scarlets from the running of the region. But I do think with Dwayne Peel as well, for me, he's in the same bracket that was Dave Flanagan, okay? We know these are good coaches. Dwayne Peel did good work at Ulster. We forget that. He was assistant coach at Ulster. He did a good job, and he was highly sought after. Let's not forget, he could have gone to Cardiff. When he came back to Wales, there were a lot of clubs wanting his signature. He's a good coach.
Yeah.
Dave Flanagan is a good coach. And you'll know this, Lee, you agree. He was good for the Scarlets, wasn't he, as assistant?
Yeah,
and definitely. He was good with the academy and the path. He did a good job at the Scarlets. He's very highly thought of. But the question is, are they good head coaches? And that's still up for debate to me. I'm not sure if Dwayne Peel is a head coach material. I'm not sure if Dave Flanagan is head coach material. I feel more sorry for Dave Flanagan because he hasn't got the tools to work with there at the Dragons. That's just a fact. He hasn't got the quality, the depth, or the budget. I know we all work off the same budget, but it's going to be a harder job though for Dave Flanagan. But if you look at last season, right? Scarlets struggled. What happened? They brought Lee Black in it.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they start winning games. He's gone now, and Dwayne Peel, he hasn't got Lee Black in the fall-on. How are they going to turn this around? To me, it just shows, it highlights the weaknesses of Dwayne Peel as a coach. And his question marks all around, isn't it? His question marks about the running, the hierarchy, and is Dwayne Peel up to it? But are you worried, Lee, as a Scarlets fan? Because there's a lot of angry and worried Scarlets fans. How do you feel about it?
I'm not worried in the sense of, oh my God, is my club going to be there at the end of the season?
No, I don't mean that. Just in terms of the trajectory.
Yeah, I'm fucked off that we've been saying stuff for such a long time and nobody's listening. And you just want to sit there and scream at stuff. And it runs from top to bottom. I was watching a youth game 2-3 weeks ago, And this is youth now, 18-year-olds, yeah. Can't actually give a decent pass, can't actually catch the ball. Your ball's going behind this. And you're sitting there and you're going, I watch them train every now and again, and they start a warm up with 2 laps around the pitch. And you go, fucking hell, boys. You know, this we got rid of that in the 80s, you know. Stretch off on the corners, 2 laps around the pitch, stretch off on the corners. There's no direction. We've lost the direction on this is how you manage a side. This is how you progress your players. This is how you develop players. And I mean that all the way down the pyramid. Yeah. And that comes from the top. And I think with the Scarlets, we assume that the top of the pyramid will just look after the top of the pyramid and then everything will be fine. And there's a whole raft of players, really, really good players that need that development. And there's a whole lot of coaches underneath that need that development and are quite willing to be developed and are quite willing to put the time and effort into to be better coaches, but they're not getting it. And that's coming from the top of our tree, if you like, the top of our pyramid. It isn't go there, we do all this stuff for your WRU, do all the coaching sessions and all of that kind of stuff. And it's the same shit all over again, you know? Yeah. And you're like, it's not, we're not progressing players. We aren't developing coaches to be head coaches, Jane. Yeah? No. And I can tell you probably 4 or 5 really, really good head coaches who are no longer in the game because they pissed people off because they told them the truth. Yeah, and that's like further down the tree and all of that kind of stuff. And I can give you a list of about 20 shit coaches who are still in the game, who are still coaching people because they brown nose the right people. And
so that's a culture issue then, isn't it? Yeah, that's a culture issue as well.
That's how you get on at the Scarlets. I know 2 boys in the Scarlets who have been brought in because their dad knows somebody inside the Scarlets club.
Shouldn't be like that, though, should it?
That's how we were in the
sounding eerily familiar.
Yeah. And we need to sort it. I know we're going off on a tangent now. What I will say, James, is that from what I've seen, Ospreys played a really basic game and played it really, really well. Scarlets fucked it up, couldn't do anything. So I got no issues with that. I got no issues with the referee. I got no issues with, you know, the way the Ospreys played the game. I got many, many issues with the way the Scarlets played the game and our inconsistency. So let's crack on.
So, right, no,
you
can't. I'm talking now.
James wants to have
a...
Very quickly, it seems like the culture stuff is the opposite of what is at the Ospreys right now. The academy is in a good place at the minute. We probably went off the doldrums for a few years. We've got good players coming through. Your Morgan Morses, your Lewis Lloyds, your Harry Houstons, Rodri Lewis, you know, boys who are playing for Swansea RFC at the minute. Then you look at, and I've banged on it before, I'm wearing my 3/4 it now, Swansea University. Okay, Toby Booth does not shut up. Whenever he mentions Max Nagy, he mentions Swansea University because of how important that is. Right? I would just like to remind people, Scarlets had that partnership first. Right? Karen Tuipulotu was in Swansea University for about 5 minutes. Right? Then he never played again. Harry Williams was there for ages. Now Harry Williams is at fucking Ampthill or wherever he is. Okay? They're not effectively using that partnership. Right? They still proudly display them on the sleeve, right? They're happy to take the money and all that jazz, right? But they're not the ones advertising tickets. They're not the ones advertising, you know, whatever, right? And then you talk about developing coaches, right? Scrum coach at the Ospreys and first team coach Duncan Jones. Now, am I saying he's going to be a head coach in the future? No, but he's been developed and groomed as a really, really good coach, right? And it is showing. Ospreys have very dominant scrum stats. Richard Fussell has been there. He's worked his way up. He was skills coach, now he's attack coach. Now, is it yet to blossom? Absolutely not. He's nowhere near the finished article as a coach. But he's there. He's a young Welsh coach that's come through the system. Hugh Gustafsson, right? At Swansea University, been playing at Swansea RFC, been playing his trade as a coach for a while. Has he had the results he wanted? No, right? He probably not got the results he deserved either, but he's down there. James Huff has been down there. Okay, so since Toby Booth took over, you can see there's a clear shift in what he wants developing from the academy. That's through players and coaches. The players he brought back to Swansea when he signed, Rhys Davis, right, was at Bath, brought him back, young Welsh from the region. Okay, he's playing out of his skin now. Matt Prothero, young Welsh from Swansea, fell out through the system, brought it back from Bristol. All right, probably hasn't reached his potential. Okay, I can go on. It's working, and then when you see what happened yesterday, and I'll talk about the performance now. They were good. That's all they had to be, was good. But they also the culture is there. Look at the reaction to where Dan Edwards. There we are, Dan Edwards. Look at the reaction from Jack Morgan when Dan Edwards scores that try. That is Wales superstar, one of the best sevens in world rugby at the minute. Superstar Jack Morgan congratulating an under-20 on his debut, right? Realistically, they haven't spent all that much time together since Dan Edwards got called up to the senior squad. Yet they were hugging, and all of them were hugging like they were best mates. And then finally, and Jamie put it in the group chat as well, Daniel Kasende, on loan, Cheetah's winger, right?
So
he was ace. And I've put up on Twitter, and it's doing quite well at the minute, is there's a photo at the end where Ben Williams just drops the shoulder into Luke Morgan, and the little tussle ensues. The first two players to run into that scuffle were Rivan Kriya and Daniel Kasende. And there's a photo of Daniel Kasende, gripping a Scarlets player like he was born in Winchwen and grew up hating the Scarlets, right? That is the culture that they're buying into. Now, is that the same as the Scarlets? No, and you can see that. So while, yes, I am so happy with the individual and team performances of the Ospreys, right, and they were deserved winners, 4 tries, probably could have scored more. They didn't score a point after 20-odd minutes. 90-odd% tackle completion. It ticks all the boxes, right? But we didn't have to get out of second gear. And that's worrying, is that I'm here talking about 20-plus point victory against our bitter rivals where I did not panic once in the game.
That's damning.
That is damning. Like, you could ask any Ospreys fan last night, were you worried at any point? And you probably say, all right, in the first 10 minutes when it was 7-6 or whatever. And you were like, oh, it's a bit of a seesaw game. After the first Keith's try, the second Keith's try, I was like, no, I'm not worried. But we were great, you were shit. Let's move on.
Yeah, maybe we won't ask. Maybe we won't ask every Osprey supporter, but let's.
I was going to say, can I just put in? I just want to bring it. I don't know if he was going to bring it up on the Scarlets pod later, but we were messaging during the game, and one thing he said after the Cardiff game was, "You look better coached than this. You look like a team who want to play for their coaches." That's one thing. But the other thing he said is, we look worse than we were before Blackett came in. And when Lee Blackett came in, and his whole remit was to try and help Dwayne Peel learn how to be a head coach. And Scarlett saw that huge improvement in the second half of the season. And, they almost had a decent enough shot at taking the Welsh Shield and getting into the top tier of Europe. And they've completely regressed. And I don't think you can blame... I mean, can you blame that entirely on the coaches, or is it the players? Is it everything? Is it the whole culture?
We will discuss that in a lot of detail on the Scarlets.
I'm looking.
If anybody wants to listen,
I'm looking forward to hearing that, because it. It just seems wrong.
All right, let's move on quickly.
That was to be painful for you, Lee. I can see your face when James was going off over there.
Yeah, it's one of those things that. Yeah, it's been building, and unfortunately, it's I've got nothing against the Ospreys winning that game on the weekend. I mean, God, you need somehow to fill that stage. Well, fill a third. Well, fill 1/8. Well, you need to fill a couple of 100 seats. So that stadium.
Come on.
So I got no issues with the Ospreys winning that. I got other issues with Welsh rugby and with the Scarlets, and we've lost our way. There's no two ways about it. Yes, we've lost our way, but I will deal with that in a lot of depth on Scarlet's Fever, which is available in all good formats, by the way. So let's
Some bad ones.
Fucking hell. Right. Let's go in reverse order. Let's oh fuck, who wants to go first, boys? I don't want to do Cardiff and Scarlets first, Harley, because yeah, let's get it out the way. Let's do predictions for the weekend. So Harley, let's do your predictions. Let's do it that way. Let's do your predictions for the weekend. Harley, off you go.
So obviously Cardiff, we're at the Arms Park. Last time out at the Arms Park, we had a scrum and nothing else. But we've had that great win over the Stormers, and Scarlets were complete abject. So I've picked Cardiff by 10, which means Scarlets are going to win by about 37, because that seems to be the way these derbies are working at the moment. Is you get the win, and then the next game you lose, and it's going to be that nip and tuck all the way through the season. I mean, looking at it, I feel like Cardiff have seemed to have got their mojo. The attack's finally starting to click. Apologies if you can hear the baby going off. Yeah, I still think Cardiff's going to be a win, but knowing my luck, because the only other time I predicted Cardiff would win was against Scarlets, and we lost. So
I remember that one well. Lions and Dragons, then. So you got Cardiff by 10.
I've got Lions by 30 purely because Dragons are literally going to be playing their backs coaches, their fly half or reserve fly half, and then Benetton Ospreys. I've been umming and ahhing, so I've before I put it down on the sheet, I swung between Ospreys by 1 or 2 points to a draw, to Benetton by 3, then Ospreys by 4, then I've finally settled on Ospreys by 3. Sorry, Benetton by 3. I've got it wrong on the sheet. I've got the sheet in front of me and I got it wrong. Benetton by 3. And the only thing I'm saying it is because Benetton at home, and it's a similar thing to the Ospreys by 1, pure vibes.
Right. Okay. James, Scarlet's trip to Cardiff. What's your prediction, my friend?
Cardiff by 12. I genuinely can't see. Scarlets are going to have to go digging deep this week to find a performance like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they need to get basics right. Genuinely wouldn't be surprised if you see Archie Hughes back in, just for that drop in the stink at 9. Either of them, because they both just didn't look like they wanted to be there. You're going to need some serious rejigging of that pack, because Reece Litterick is going to be fancying Wyn Jones a lot after watching that on the weekend. And you best hope that you better just wrap via Fafita up in Cottonwool, because otherwise I can't see you having any parity up front. Johnny Williams needs to have a look at himself. Again, because he was.
I ask you to talk about Cardiff and Scarlets. You just spend another 10 minutes.
He was shit. What do you want me to say? He's going to have.
He lost the battle of the shit 12 Welsh 12.
He's going to have, Willis or Ray Lilo or Mason Grady running at him, and Ben Thomas, and he looks abject at the minute. But yeah, so I think Cardiff should have too much. You look at the way Ellis Jenkins got them going. Tinas Dabia playing on the front foot looked really, really good. That try, the Hamer Webb try, if he can do that regularly, he's going to cause teams problems. So yeah, Cardiff at home, absolute fortress.
Okay,
and it's where all the Scarlets fans live anyway, so it's going to be a sellout.
Lions and Dragons.
Oh, hey, Lions by 30, 35. Let's go to 35 just to be different. Again, they put how many to put on Zebra? 67 was it? Something like that.
62, I thought, was it?
Either way, and I thought that was a nice looking Zebra side. I thought for it, they'll score some tries over there, and they didn't.
I know that was a Zebra side that drew the mighty Cardiff.
Yeah, exactly.
61 points it got.
And then finally, what's the last? Oh yeah, Benetton. I think we're going to be sending a weekend team out because we've got Benetton 2 weeks in the trot. For people who don't know, we've got them away in the league and then at home in Europe. Toby Booth has said at the start of the season we want to target the Challenge Cup. So I can see us sending not a weak squad, but a weakened squad. So I'm going to go Benetton by 8 there.
Oh, far off. I'd already written down under your predictions Benetton by 7, so I wasn't far off. I'm quite impressed with my predictions of your predictions. So, Jamie, what do you make of Cardiff and Scarlets, mate?
It would be peak Cardiff if they lost to the Scarlets on the weekend. It really would, because they've always been, I don't know if Ali agrees, to me, Cardiff have always been that really inconsistent team where they'll pick up results against teams they're not expected to, but then in the games where they are expected to, they seem to fail. And I just wonder, look, it was a really good win against the Stormers. Are they getting a bit too carried away at CF10 now with that win? I wonder, And the Scarlets, they did beat Cardiff, didn't they, already this season?
Yeah.
They do, to be fair, the Scarlets do well against Cardiff. They know how to beat them. And they will have good support because they all be coming up from Pontcanna. So it's going to be a sea of red there. What was you going to say, Ali, before I make my prediction?
I was going to say I don't know what the opposite of a flat track bully is, but it's definitely Cardiff, where you somehow completely shit the bed against worse teams and then somehow beat the better teams.
Yeah. I mean, logic says that Scarlets shouldn't have any chance. They've rock bottom. They've conceded 200 points in their 4 away games this season. But I actually think it's going to be closer than what people think. I am going to go for Cardiff by 5. But I will not be surprised if Scarlets really turn up and give Cardiff a good game and even beat them. That would not surprise me, because I am expecting Dragons to be bottom of the league this coming weekend, because I do think Scarlets will they only need a bonus point and I'll lift them above Dragons. I don't think Dragons are going to get anything out of the game against the Lions. So I'm going to go for Cardiff by 5. Right. Lions, Dragons, it's going to be 30 plus points. Like I said, I don't know who's playing at 10. I've just been told now that Will Reed is going through his HIA protocols. They're hoping he's going to come through it. But if not, who knows who they're going to pick at 10.
Do you want to
they're
risk
battered, they're bruised. Oh, yeah, because I think this is desperate times now, mind. We got nothing. We got no options. We don't want to be playing Steph Hughes and Jordan Williams. I think this is an occasion where if he's been passed, medically fit by the doctors, if he's given the all clear, he's got to play. He's got to play if he is fit and available. But it's going to be tough, isn't it? They can't get involved in the set piece game because we know Dragons can't cope with the power. I agree with what Ali said earlier. I think we just got to throw caution away to fuck it, just have a chuck about, try not to take them on at front, because if they do, they'll lose. But I am expecting it to be another tough day for the Dragons in South Africa, so I'm going to go for Lions by 35. Benetton Ospreys, I'm finding this really hard to call. Because to me, this could go both ways. I'm going to lean towards Benetton just because of home advantage. I think if this was in Swansea, I would fancy Ospreys. But because it is in Benetton and it's become a very hard place to go, Benetton had a cracking win against Edinburgh. I know some Edinburgh fans would moan about the ref, they chucked it away at the end, taking on all that. But the fact of the matter is that was a really impressive win. And they was bloody good team now, Benetton. So I'm going to go for Benetton by 4.
See, I predicted you go Benetton by 2. It was close. This is my new game, predicting the predictions.
These are closer than your actual predictions.
They are, aren't they?
Yeah.
I'd be good if this was the game. Right. Okay. So let's do.
So Scarlets by 27. Dragons by 6. And Ospreys by 42. I reckon Lee's going for.
So, I think that there will be a reaction. I'm hoping there will be. The best fucking well be, because if there isn't, then genuinely Dwayne Peel is looking at the new year and looking at the job sheets, because there's got to be something. And the same goes for Gareth Williams, the defense coach for fucking. So I'm expecting a reaction, a massive reaction. So I'm gonna go Scarlets by 1. No.
I was wondering if he's going to go for Scarlets.
That is some proper.
He did.
Have you been sniffing glue? Genuinely. There was 30 missed tackles.
I've gone Scarlets by 1. Okay, Scarlets by 1 is as close as it gets, boys. Okay, Scarlets by 1. Apart from when we're playing Leinster. Right, Lions and Dragons. I'm I've got to go somewhere. I've got to recover some points here somewhere. So I'm going to go Lions by 40. So that, in fact, I only need to go Lions by 36 tonight. Yeah, if I go Lions by 36, anything 36 and above, then I get the points. Fuck off. You three, out of the four of us, you three all scored 4 points because you had the same score.
Shark score.
And I'm like, you bastards, I've got 1. You lot got 4 each.
What do you get in the Cardiff one, Lee?
Out of interest, who set up the scoring system for this league?
Me. And if you don't like it,
so whose fault?
Off.
So whose fault is it that you got fucked over?
Anyway, let's focus.
Watch Dragons only lose by 29 now.
Yeah, I'd be pissed off. Okay, Benetton and Ospreys. So again, I'm gonna go Benetton by 10 on this one, just because Benetton at home. A lot of their decent players are back this week as well. I think Ospreys will rest a lot of players, James, and I think Benetton will target this one. So I think it could be a lot more, but
it's not a bad thing either. Like from an Ospreys, but I think every fan is, who I've spoken to, have said, they would like a Challenge Cup run because they genuinely have a proper chance. And I don't see Benetton. Benetton are flying high in the league right now. They have a big squad, but do they have a good enough squad to compete on both fronts? I don't think they do. I think they really want that playoff spot and qualification for the Investec Champions Cup. So I can see them sending a weakened squad out to us.
Yeah.
So
them.
That actually raises quite an interesting point. If you'll just allow me quickly, Lee. Do you think it's going to be easier for a Welsh side to get the Champions Cup by winning the Challenge Cup this season? And do you think that if you're Scarlets and Ospreys and you want a Champions Cup rugby, and God knows what you would with the squads we're going to have next season, but do you think the Challenge Cup's probably an easier run than trying to get in the top 8?
Well, no, because Scarlets are going to go to Georgia, and their scrum is going to be fucking under pressure.
But remember, the Black Line it's like the Georgian second team because all their best players play in France.
I think it's a really interesting question, Harley, that we'll talk about another time when I can be asked to think about it. Because thinking
it's been
right
a tough
now,
one for Lee tonight, isn't it? I've had
a really shit weekend. I haven't had a shit weekend. I've had a busy weekend and then a shit game of rugby. I've had a crazy busy day today, and then I knew I'd have to come on and face fucking Smug Boy. And Smug Boy is bad enough, but without Smug Boy and his fucking sidekick, look at me, arsewipe boy, it's too much, boys.
Have you looked at the Twitter account today? By any chance? The angry Twitter account is going off.
Yeah, no, I haven't. But right, gentlemen, thank you very much for your company this evening. But this is the bit that I like about doing this pod, is that we can sit there and rip the piss out of each other and all that kind of stuff, and it doesn't matter. It's a game. It's there to be enjoyed, so we enjoy it while it's there, and we don't while it's not. So yeah, thank you very much for your company tonight, gents. It's been a pleasure as always. We'll do it all again next week when I hope the Ospreys get fucking stuffed. And on that one, on that note, gents, thank you very much. Enjoy your rugby and good night.
Good night.
Take
care. Good night, everyone.